So it's difficult to get an idea on the Oklahoma City Thunder just looking at their advanced stats, because all of their wins have been blowouts, including one game against the Bulls where they won 101-69. And then all of their losses have been pretty close. Now, one thing that you could say is that all of their losses have been to basically all the better teams they've played, the Celtics, the Jazz, the Trailblazers. But they also did beat the Bucks, and Milwaukee's looked kind of exciting, and Indiana's been a little better than people thought. So it's tough to gauge Oklahoma City through the numbers. Also, if we look at their ratings, like they're 12th in offense and they're 2nd in defense. But once again, because of all those blowouts. So I think with OKC, you mainly have to go with the eye test on this one. And the thing that I'm noticing is this team's offense. And they've definitely made the attempt of acclimating Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony to all be able to play together and not sacrifice too many shots between themselves and hopefully make themselves as well as the entire team better. They've been doing this through having Westbrook get a screen from Carmelo Anthony, which can sometimes result in a mismatch where Melo could have a point guard on him and then he can just go to work on a post-up. He did that a couple of times last night against Damian Lillard. It also could result in Westbrook with a power forward on him if Melo's at the 4 spot. So that can work. They've also had times where Paul George has had action off the ball. And Paul George, because he's a really good three-point shooter and an excellent three-point shooter off the catch, especially, or also from mid-range, I should say. That's working out well. He's shooting nearly 40% from 3. Melo's efficiency has been a little bit lower. And Westbrook has also had his moments of sometimes just isolations because he can do that, or pick and rolls from Steven Adams where he can just get ahead of steam going to the basket, and he can do his thing because he's Russell Westbrook, of course. But it does seem like Russ is realizing the situation a bit here. Last season he attempted 24 shots a game. This season he's attempting 17. He's also getting to the free throw line almost 5 less times a game, he's shooting 5 less free throws a game, which would be like 2.5 times a game, if you will. I think some of that is due to waiting for Paul George on the perimeter off of screens. So the times where Westbrook could be attacking the rim, he's instead passing it off to Paul George, which I think is still productive offense. I expect Westbrook's scoring to be higher than 20 points a game once this season is done. And as you would expect, his usage rate is way more normal this season at 31 as opposed to the nearly 42 from last year, which was insanity. I mean, 31 is still decently high, but you get it. And while all this is cool that they're running select plays for each guy, their offense is really not as good as it could be. And we're only 9 games into the season, so I'm not going to expect them to just have it all figured out immediately. But it's kind of like the plays they're running are, okay, Melo, this is your play. Okay, Westbrook, this is your play. Okay, Paul George, this is your play. Where they'll do all the stuff I just talked about, getting Melo screening for Russ, Paul George coming off ball, Westbrook in a pick and roll. But they're not running a whole lot of offense that puts all 3 of them together. And that is where I think they could be a little predictable on offense. I think some stuff you could run would just be a horns set. I mean, just have Melo and Paul George set screens on either side of Westbrook, let Russ pick a side, just see what the hell happens. Because those are 3 talented players, and the defense has to defend all 3 of them. And that's what I wish they would do more of. I wish they would do more of Melo screening for Paul George, and having the defense make that moment of like, what do we do, you know? Or, here's a crazy one for you. What if they ran Russell Westbrook off ball sometimes? I mean, Paul George and Melo, sure, I wouldn't ask them to lead my offense, but they can still dribble the ball themselves. I mean, if you have Westbrook running off ball, and then you have one of either Melo or Paul George having some sort of off-ball action as well, you could really force the defense to have to make some tough decisions. But whether it's Billy Donovan having a kind of basic offense, which is a criticism that has been thrown his way before this season, or it's Russell Westbrook not wanting to run a more detailed offense which is also a criticism that has been thrown at him multiple times. I don't know, but I do wish there was just more stuff going on in this OKC offense. I mean, even just flare screens, you know? Like, you could have... I mean, one play the Knicks run, which I really like, and I talked about it earlier in the other video, was they'll have Porzingis set a flare screen for, like, Courtney Lee in the corner, and then if the initial action isn't open, Porzingis will immediately set him another screen, and then Lee will cut to the basket. You should definitely be able to run that sort of stuff with Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. How about some Steven Adams handoffs? You start one of either Paul George or Melo in the corner, have him come up, get a handoff from Steven Adams that immediately turns into a screen from Steven Adams right after. Paul George and Melo are very good mid-range shooters. You see what I'm getting at. Now, I would love to go into numbers to try to look at some things that might be going wrong for them and some solutions they could make out of some stuff, but like I mentioned before, because all of their wins have been blowouts and we're early in the season, all their numbers are just out of whack. Like, Russell Westbrook, technically, this is kind of funny. When Westbrook is out of the game, their net rating is 16. When he's in the game, it's 3.2. Now, anyone with a brain will understand, oh yeah, you know, they've had some close games. Westbrook has had to be in the game for those close games against good teams, and that's what happens. And then the games where he's not in is because they've already blown the team out. Like, so I can't look at ratings. I can't look at on-off numbers. I don't know. It's all eye test here. I should probably talk about defense a little bit, though. I think they'll be fine. They have a lot of good defenders. Westbrook's defense against Lillard was kind of shaky last night, but between Paul George, Steven Adams, Andre Robertson, Jeremy Grant, Patrick Patterson, they just have enough stuff. I think they will be okay. The main thing's the offense. I think there is potential for this offense to really be unlocked with a lot of movement and stuff. And the criticism of OKC for many years now, over Scott Brooks' time and now Billy Donovan's time with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, and then Russell Westbrook, and then Russell Westbrook with Carmelo Anthony and Paul George. Still early in the season, but it's happening already. The offense is a little too basic, so we're just going to have to see what happens. Although ultimately these guys were my pick for the 4th seed in the Western Conference, and I'm still going to hold true to that because they're very talented and talent just wins out. And they have one of the best players in the league in Westbrook and Paul George, who's hovering around number 10, so they should be fine.